Welcome back to consecutive day 1059 of a diary of a runpreneur. And today I want to talk to you about measuring your running fitness. So please do give this a subscribe, share, like and comment, as the more people we get in front of, the more money we raise on my fundraising mission to save the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultra marathon. All the information about the challenge, how you can get involved, is in the link in the comments below. Thank you as always, and let's get started. So, consecutive day 1059 of a diary of a runpreneur, and today's topic is measuring your running fitness. And the reason for the topic today is that London Marathon was at the weekend just past, and it's always a strange kind of weekend for me because I've run it I think 3 or maybe 4 times now, and I love the race, but notoriously hard to get into. You can get into it for charity reasons, but even then you have a ring-fenced amount you have to raise in addition to what you're already raising elsewhere. So it's quite challenging on the fundraising front to run it every year. So I normally run it maybe 1 in every 3 years, depending on how my fundraising is going. And but what it does remind you of when you see it is how just amazing as a single fundraising event it truly is. And you see the remarkable people, you know, doing remarkable feats to achieve greatness for their fundraising causes, which clearly I'm super passionate about. But something that I like to kind of try and track that a lot of people don't is my running fitness, because I mean, let's look at the usual thing that people do when they're trying to do a marathon of some kind, is that they'll build up to a marathon, an 8-week training plan. But I run marathons fairly frequently. Normally a couple of marathons or ultras every year is kind of the kind of level I kind of generally operate at. But the beautiful thing about it is that I don't ever train for them. And the reason I don't is obviously because I'm on a crazy running streak and my base level of fitness is always relatively high, which enables me to turn up on these events and still perform at a relatively good level without having a draining training plan or regime. And most of the time people will be doing marathon running is that they'll start from a low base rather than a relatively high base level of fitness. And my kind of conclusion here is it's always easier maintaining running fitness than stopping than starting. They say that if you don't do much for kind of 6 weeks is generally the baseline, your running fitness will go completely and you'll be back to almost starting from scratch. But in actual fact, maintaining it is not too challenging. And in order to maintain it is that I use a metric from I think he's an Italian scientist, a guy called, I can't remember what his first name was, but his surname was Tanda. And he created this algorithm to predict race performance based on your average weekly miles and your average weekly pace. And the argument from it was that you could do very few weekly miles at an incredibly quick pace and still be able to run a very good marathon time, or you could run a huge volume of miles at an incredibly slow pace and still be able to run an incredibly good marathon time. Now obviously marathon is the kind of benchmark. It will apply to half marathon, 10k, 5k as well, and this algorithm will take the previous 8 weeks of your running averages and your previous 8 weeks of your weekly average running pace, and then you punch that data into the formula and it will create a prediction of times that you'll be able to perform at based on your cardiovascular level of fitness. And this is something that I've used on a couple of occasions, and it's been so accurate. I've been within a minute of its projection of where I was going to finish on a marathon level. Now, the caveat to this is that generally the quicker you are, the more accurate it becomes. If you are running 4 hours or below marathon pace, it will be very accurate. Above and beyond that, it will be still pretty accurate. It's just that the slower you run, the And the longer it takes you to run these events, the more variance there is, the more difficult it is to project. So what I do is I'm consciously aware of where my running fitness is based on my projected Tanda marathon time. And basically my challenge this year is that I wanted to do not only a marathon PB, but I wanted to break 3 hours and 15 a marathon. And I'm going to enter the Yorkshire Marathon in October 15th in order to do that. It's a quite good flat course. It's a PB type of course, so I think it will lend itself quite well. You don't have to do all the fundraising to get into it like you would at London Marathon. And but how am I going to train for that? Well, as I've already said, I don't normally train for them because I'm running every day. But what I will be aware of is I'll be punching my data into the Tanda algorithm to see where I am. Now, as I'm running at the moment, I think my projected marathon time would be somewhere in the region of about 3 hours 25 based on my fitness level as it is today. That's based on my average weekly mileage, which is about 36 miles per week. 50 kilometers a week is my general average. My average running pace is kind of 5-minute 45 kilometer pace, and that's kind of based on that. Those figures, I think I'm somewhere in the region of, but high 3 hour 20s is kind of where I think it's projected me to be at, which is probably pretty accurate. The one caveat to me is that I don't get any tapering. I'm running right up to the actual day of the race, and right the day after I'll be running again. However, it's still pretty accurate. So I want to break 3 hours 15. So I've punched the metrics into the Tanda algorithm, and I know that for the 8 weeks before I run, I need to be averaging 4-minute 40 kilometer pace, which I think is somewhere in the region of 7.5, maybe slightly slower than 7.5 minute mile pace as my average mileage for the same distance, so same 50k distance, which is what my kind of staple is. So in a build up to that, I will just up my pace a little bit, well, considerably, a minute a kilometre pace for the 8 weeks and prior to that, which should get me in the cardiovascular level of fitness to be able to hopefully get that 3 hour 15 minute marathon time that I'm aiming for. So yeah, the moral of the story today is that typical marathon training plans are so demanding on your body, doing lots of different variations of running that you're not used to, and then having to do your long runs, which get up to kind of 21-22 miles in a sitting. And the risk of injury when you go above a half marathon distance is so extreme on your body that I find that doing just maintenance miles is a far more effective way for me to train. And I think the moral of the story today is that maintenance is far easier than stopping and starting. So why not just maintain your level of running fitness? And I even thought of a potential business opportunity here of doing this for people. So anybody who runs, just following them on Strava, they subscribe to me, I give them a weekly data of how they are, so they know basically at any given point in time how quickly they can run a marathon in any of the shorter typical disciplined races based on their current level of running. And it's then measuring your level of running fitness so you know where you are, so that when you kind of start coming up to races, you just need to tweak what you're already doing and not do these crazily demanding training regimes where so many people get injured and don't even make the start line of a marathon. So yeah, that's it for me today. Hope that's helpful. Any questions or comments, drop me a line. I'll respond to everyone. Do remember to give us a subscribe, share, like and comment. As the more people we get in front of, the more money we raise on my fundraising mission to save the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultra marathon. Thank you as always. Stay positive, stay happy. I'll see you again tomorrow.